Welcome to Rebecca Sounds Reveille. I am so excited today because I have someone who has been on a prior radio show that I've had before, and is just an amazing man. He has so many things under his tool belt to offer. One of the things, though, is his writing. He's been described as a realistic comic writer, entrepreneur. He is a Texan without the boots. And everything is big in Texas, right? And he has big things about his life that he can share with us today, and even over the course of a couple of episodes here and there as we go forward. But he's a Christian without the religion. He is a well-educated, without excess schooling, and he is just very prolific in his writing. His book, No Pit So Deep, is what we're going to be talking about today. But he has just been very well grounded and up in the air, and by founding 2 aircraft refinishing companies, and he has logged 8,000 hours as a pilot. He was also working with business clients in the past to include Tom Cruise, Kurt Russell, Apollo astronauts, Frank Borman, William Anders, and George Strait, among others. He really likes to say he's a good therapist and a good listener. Or not a good therapist, but a good listener. And I will tell you that I think that is something that has really been one of his tools in writing his book. And now that it's become his series, No Pit So Deep, with me today is James N. Miller. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Rebecca. Good to be with you again.
I know. I'm really super excited about having a talk with you today about all of the things that you've done and the things that you've been doing. And so I'm wondering, how did you get started with writing? Because you've done so many different things, and being a pilot, logging over 8,000 hours, how did you end up having time?
Well, that's a long story, but I'll try to shorten it. I think one of the things you said is I'm not a trained therapist, but I think I'm a good listener. And over the years, in the life that I've had, which has taken me into several different fields, one of the things that's been sort of constant is that I've sort of accumulated stories from people's lives, and many of them have been veterans who have returned from the battlefield. And I don't know exactly why, but a lot of the people who come back from combat do not want to talk about their experiences.
This is very true. Let me just say right here, Reveille, shout out to the veterans. Thank you for serving.
Amen to that.
Yes, yes.
And, so what I ended up doing is unwittingly over the years, I had a number of these veterans come just really seek me out and begin to share things with me about their lives and about what they were going through. I had done a series of speaking engagements in California. I remember one year, and I had 2 young men who had just returned from Vietnam. That dates me, but they had just returned from Vietnam and shared with me the stories, some of the things that happened to them, and the things that seemed to be just destroying their lives now that they had returned.
Mm-hmm.
From war. And that was sort of my first, my first introduction to what we today call post-traumatic stress.
Yes.
Back then they called it battle fatigue.
Yes.
Other names for it before then. And the problem through the years has been that soldiers who've returned from battlefields and who have failed to readjust to life have been afraid to share their situation because, for one thing, they don't like to talk about it because it sends them back to things they're trying to forget.
This is true.
They don't want people to think that they are either cowardly or incapable of dealing with life.
Right.
And I think that one of the things that may have been a breakthrough was when Audie Murphy went before Congress
Uh-huh.
and shared his experience about what happened to him after coming back from being overseas.
Mm-hmm.
He had been the most highly decorated soldier in United States history. He won over 33 medals, and some of those from other nations. And this man was no coward. But when he came back, he had a hard time adjusting to life, and he didn't tell anybody about
Mm-hmm.
it. And finally, he realized that somebody needed to speak out. So he went before Congress and shocked the world by telling of his drug addiction and the other things that had really destroyed his life after he returned.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I've been, I guess, privileged over the years to be able to hear some of these stories firsthand from some of the people that I've known. And, you know, I never thought of writing down any of their stories, or I never dreamed that I would someday write a novel that would honor these men and these women. But what happened is my life got real quiet after I sold my businesses, and I had reached the point where I was kind of burned out on everything. And in the quietness of that time, after I had sold everything and pulled back from everything, I was bored to death. I didn't do quiet very well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it seems like it's you know, it's sort of a something you want to do is to finally retire and have a quiet life. And the idea of doing that sounded really good until I tried to do it.
Uh-huh.
Couldn't do it. So anyway, I started asking God. I started saying, God, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I mean, I'm just 60. I'm 65 years old. I'm in good health, and what am I going to do with my life? I was just about to go crazy. I had tried to start several other businesses, and nothing worked out, and all the doors were just closing down. And I thought, what is going on? And
Oh.
then out of the quietness came this story that just popped into my head out of nowhere. I'm not trying to get weird on you, but this is what happened. It just sort of popped into my head about this man and this woman. Both of them had been abused and had suffered, from post-traumatic stress and everything. And they found each other in the midst of extenuating circumstances. And this story just began to build in my head. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm going nuts. And for about 6 months, this story floated around in my brain and grew and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'd be sitting at a traffic light, and I would see another scene just play out before me like a motion picture or something.
Uh-huh.
Finally, I told my wife about it. I didn't even tell Carla about it. I figured she'd think, oh, you silly old man, And so I finally told her about this story going around in my head, and she said, you ought to write it down.
Yes.
Well, I started writing it down, and I never stopped. I wrote for 3 years, nearly 3 years on it. And after I got into it, I began to realize that I was building into this story the experiences that I had learned from many of the men and women that I had talked to. The things that they experienced is what my characters experience in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't, violated anyone's confidence or anything like that, but I've allowed the things that they have shared with me to work their way into the book in order to not only bring an awareness about this sort of thing, but also
Uh-huh.
these people in the book, they find faith. They find, and those stories are also, by the way, taken from real events, where they found faith and they found victory over these things. And so that's what No Pit So Deep is about, but it's also very entertaining because it's a love story.
Yes, so you have been able to intertwine some very deep and traumatic things that have happened to people that you know and you've talked about, and you've been able to create characters that resemble them and help them to move out of this pit. And then also made it into a love story. So you have something that is absolutely incredible here.
Well, the other thing is, sometimes people say, well, how did you come up with the title?
Uh-huh.
What's the title all about? Well, when I started writing this book, again, I know this is going to sound strange, but this is the honest truth. I started writing this as a love story. I had no idea which way the story was going to go. I didn't know. I didn't even call it No Pit So Deep when I started off. But when I came to the point where Brandy, who, as you know, if you've read the book, she's an investigative reporter from Pittsburgh, and she's exposed a human trafficking ring. So she has a price on her head.
Which actually, right now, is in the sheriff in McLennan County. There was part of a huge, like 700 people in human trafficking. So this is also real.
Book. That's right.
Yes.
It is. And an Antioch University study revealed a few years ago that they estimate that nearly 300,000 children are used on front lines in war fronts today.
Can you repeat that number? Because I am.
Estimates in Antioch University, 300,000 kids are used on front lines today.
This is absolutely unacceptable. This is unacceptable, but this number is just sickening me, and it brings a pit in me because of how disgusting that is. But 300,000.
Yeah, it blows your mind.
It does. It absolutely does.
You realize that in a lot of, particularly third world countries where there's been a lot of war, there's been a lot of refugees, a lot of kids don't have any parents.
Mm-hmm.
Who takes them in? The traffickers.
Yes.
I don't know if you caught the story about the two American baseball players, Adam LaRoche, who retired last year from Chicago White Sox. He and another a friend of his who was also a ball player, and I don't remember who his friend was, but it was a big story. They went undercover and went into, I don't know where it was, Taiwan or somewhere, and they infiltrated a ring of traffickers, and they took hidden cameras and all of these things. Just, an amazing story. And so, Cody is a baseball player.
Cody's a baseball player.
He's a baseball player. And when he comes back from Afghanistan, after having been captured by the Taliban, crashed his F-18 in the desert, and he ran into human traffickers where he was. And one of the things that is troubling to him so much is the fact that when he was rescued, that 32 children died who were captive of the Taliban. They died while in the process of rescuing him, they were killed.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the things that he brings back. And then what's worse is that it's never made public about the death of those children.
So and that's a lot for someone to live with. And based on a true story here, the person that resembles the character of Cody must have just really been traumatized to think that his life was saved and 32 children gone.
And when he came back, he was, he had been drafted to play baseball out of college, but he had decided to go into the Marine Corps instead and become a pilot. but he's honorably discharged because his injuries are so severe that they don't think he'll ever fly again. But something really amazing happens when he's on the operating table in Kandahar, the Army Trauma Center. He's not expected to live, and even if he does, he'll never walk again. But an anesthesiologist from Canada, who is a sergeant in the Canadian Army, challenges him and says, Lieutenant, I'm told that you may not survive this operation. And I need to know if you're a Christian. Are you ready to meet God? He was offended by that. He says, well, I believed in God ever since I'm a kid. But he says, don't waste your breath on me. He said, I got a bunch of people killed. I'm never going to be able to fly again. I don't have a family to go home to. I'm done. I'm through. I don't care what happens to me. And she says, well, if Jesus said that if you lay down your life for his sake, that he'll give you a new life. She said, you may think that being a Marine and flying an airplane is the only life you were designed for, but God may have something even greater in mind.
Yes.
Well, so he prays a prayer that goes kind of like this. He says, God, the worst thing is take away the hate that I feel in my heart for these men. And he said, that's the thing that's killing me more than anything else. If you'll just, I'm willing to give my life to you, but please take away the hate somehow. Well, when he comes to, his leg is still attached. And he's told that from the time he went under the anesthesia till the time the doctor went in to start operating on his leg, the infection had left. And his leg had been completely blown to pieces.
Oh, wow.
Reconstructed the bones as well as he could, but then he told him, and so the anesthesiologist is waiting for him when he wakes up 3 days later, says, well, Lieutenant, you're not going to die, but you're never going to walk again. And so I won't ruin the story for everybody, but miraculously, his leg recovers, he goes through rehab, and 4 years later, he's in the big leagues. And nobody can explain it. But the funny thing is, his leg is okay. He's made a commitment of his life to God, but he still doesn't trust himself. He still doesn't believe he's really been forgiven. And he really is beginning to think that maybe he was just lucky. Maybe God didn't have anything to do with it. And so he still has this hanging over his head. And that's when Brandy comes along, and she's a woman of faith, and she is able to, over a period of 6 or 7 days, she just falls head over heels in love with him. She loves him so much that she's willing to lay down her own life to try to bring him out of this, what he's in. And she finally gets him to start sharing what happened. And I won't ruin it for everybody, but it has a happy ending. But it's an amazing story, and it's it's based on real events.
I think that this is very exciting, and your story has so much that's going to be able to hit home with veterans and others that have had traumatic experiences, especially PTSD, and also those who are not believers in the Christian arena. And I think that your message that goes a lot, that was completely inspired by Christ, just goes through so much here. But that's not where it ends, is it? You have more going on here with Cody and the No Pit So Deep. So can you share a little bit about that?
Well, first let me say this. This is the interesting thing about it, is that the characters in the book have a decidedly Christian worldview. But the book has something for everybody. It's not preachy. It's not condemning. When my bio describes me as a Christian without the religion, that depends on how you define religion. To me, I define religion as what's left over after God's already been somewhere and moved on.
I love it.
It's the condemning, pettiness, the self-seeking, you know, making out a checklist. And if you go down and check every one of those things off, then you've done your duty to God and everything's okay. And somebody can be extremely religious without ever really meeting God at all.
This is very true.
Christianity, real Christianity, is knowing a living God, having him work in your life and seeing miracles every day. It's moving into a different kingdom. And the view that so many people have of the church today is that it's condemning, judgmental, and self-righteous. And you know what's sad is that in many cases that's true. That's what religion is. What we don't need is more religion. What we need is a relationship with a living God that makes your life exciting and powerful. And that's what Cody and Brandy began to discover. And in the end, Cody says something as he's approaching the press. What he shares about the change that's happened into his life because of what Brandy has brought to him in his life. He says, I finally come to realize that if God has any major flaw, it is that he loves us way too much. And you're looking at one grateful Marine. So that's how he concludes. I will also say this, that I've had 5-star reviews from Christian reviewers and secular reviewers both.
This is fantastic. That is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And this is why I didn't list the book as in the genre on Amazon as religion and spirituality. Because I don't want to eliminate people who might otherwise, a lot of people look at that and say, oh, I don't want to read that. I have it listed in women's and men's adventures. Because that's what it is. It's really a love story, and the love story alone is worth the price of admission, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, but I've written a follow-up to it, the second book, and the second book deals with Cody and Brandy after they've been married for 4 years. It skips 4 years ahead. And they have declared war on human traffickers.
Oh, I love it.
So Cody, they have formed an organization. And if you read part 1, the morning after they're married, they're talking together, and they've decided that they are going to declare war as a team on human traffickers. And they form an organization called Planned Childhood. And so Planned Childhood is to and I'm, what I'm really hoping is that maybe somebody will do that. Maybe when they read the story, they'll say, that's what we need to do. Let's get some people together. Let's do this. But
yes,
they have safe houses that they establish on different continents, different places. And this all comes out mostly in book 2. And but what Cody doesn't tell Brandy for her own protection, and she's really upset about it when she finds out. And that comes out in book 2 also. It's real interesting what happens. But Cody has formed an off-the-books shadow operation that he's put together with a number of former special ops people that he knows. And it has a secret code name, Rose's Cantina.
Rose's Cantina.
Cantina, that's the code word. And Brandy doesn't even know about it. But Cody and his guys, he's put together this organization that's not held back by any protocols, any political or bureaucratic organizations. They're not answerable to any of those. They go in just like a team of special ops soldiers who go into a foreign country somewhere and do a mission, and nobody ever knows they were there, and nobody ever knew they were coming. And I have a friend, it's actually a friend of my son, who is a Navy SEAL, who's deployed right now, and that's exactly what he does. But he does it as a military operative, not as a, you know.
Right.
But it's the same kind of deal where Cody puts together a team of people like this. They go and they do the research, and they search out and destroy these units of these cartels, and they rescue the children, and then they put them in their safe houses until they can get them back to their families or get them to an orphanage or something. That's planned childhood. But Cody's wife, Brandy, doesn't even know about it until their daughter gets taken at the age of 6.
Oh, no.
It turns out that she's taken as retaliation by the traffickers who have finally discovered who the head of this, who's doing all these raids all over the world. When she finds out that that's why their daughter has been taken, she just about has a conniption. But they go into, it has a happy ending, but they go into South America and take a team of people into a sovereign nation. They rescue not just Noxie, their little girl, but 50 other children. And Noxie is the one that turns out to be the big hero. She's 6. And so I'm not gonna ruin it for everybody, but it's,
no, you can't reveal it.
Yeah, it's it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. It's a really good story, and I just enjoyed writing it so much. And I'm also getting good reviews on that from people that have read it so far. It only came out about 7 days ago.
Congratulations on that. This is very exciting.
Actually, it came out on the 14th, so it's just, 3 days ago, I guess.
Oh, excellent. And so you're getting good reviews. And what is the title specifically to this second book?
It's just called No Pit So Deep, Book 2.
Book 2.
Or the book 2 in the series, and it's on Amazon. If you go to the page, you see both books there. You can order either one. And I've also written, as I said earlier, a short story about Cody and Brandy, who, and you know, I told you there was 4 years separation between book 1 and book 2. 4 years of time goes by.
Right.
This short story is something that happens during that intermediate time. So it's not found in either book.
Oh, I love it.
And we're willing to we'd like to just give that away to anyone that'll go in and order it on our website. And I can give you the web address.
Yes, let's go ahead and give that address to our viewers now.
Okay, it's just authorjamesmiller.com.
And they can order No Pit So Deep, book 1 and 2 there, along with this particular short story that sort of bridges the two.
Sure, just hit the contact button. It'll take you to the email page, and you can send me an email requesting the book, and I'll send you a PDF just as soon as I get it.
Excellent.
If you order the short story, and it's free, totally free.
Yes, and you are an excellent writer. I read your first book. I'm excited about everything that you have going. Now, let me ask you this. Is your creative imagination side now starting to move into more things going on with Cody and Brandy?
Well, I would like to do that. And what I'm thinking of is writing a series of short stories.
Uh-huh.
4-year gap there. And then making them, maybe even making them each an independent story of its own, but compiling it into a book of short stories about the same 2 characters, you know, like a television series or something like that.
I really like that, because I think that, you know, sometimes when you're on the go, you want something, but you want something that keeps you going. You want to be able to absorb so much, but we live in such a quick-paced society that sometimes time is hard. So I think that that's fantastic, and you have it in PDF, as you said, and if you're continuing to move forward with that, I think people are going to be asking more, and you're getting fantastic reviews. So this is just awesome. I am so glad that we've had an opportunity to be able to share with our viewers something that is so profound, because this book and the series that James Miller has written has so much that can be applied to trauma, to love, to faith. And you are just doing so well. I want to thank you so much for being here. And before we go, I want you to give out your website address again, and let you viewers know also that right now he is offering a short story that connects the two books together. So you will be able to have the full background between Cody and Brandy all together. So go ahead, take it away.
Sure. Okay. It's author, AUTHOR. If I misspell it, tell me. AuthorJamesMiller.com.
Fantastic. Thank you for being with us. And I want to thank you for watching today. We hope that you've enjoyed the opportunity to learn a little bit more about this particular author and what he's going to be doing in the future, as well as what he's being able to do to help those who not only want to be inspired, but overcome some things that have actually happened to them based on life events that are true. You have been watching Rebecca Sounds Reveille, and we hope that you forward this and share it with your friends and family. If you'd like to be a guest, we'd love to have you. Go ahead and send us an email or message me on Facebook. And you can send your email to boatprogram@yahoo.com.